Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Fun Forecast. My name is Mike Owens, one half of your host and duo. But you didn't come here for me. You came here for the man whose show this is named after, Rob Font, number six Bantamweight contender. Rob, how are things, my friend?
Great, brother. How you doing, man?
The pleasure is all mine. This is a very exciting project. I think we're both very excited to get this up and running. So, for anyone who hasn't seen our socials, we've been posting quite a lot of content recently. Rob and I have come together. We've teamed forces, if you like, after our long-standing relationship. Together, we're going to provide a weekly show, a weekly show of content where we're going to each week preview the upcoming action in MMA. Rob, anything else you want to add before we get started?
No, I'm excited. This is gonna be pretty cool. We've been kind of going back and forth for a while, and yeah, I'm excited to kind of stay consistent with this and put as much content out as possible.
For anyone who doesn't know, I am the self-proclaimed good luck charm of Rob Font. So every time I've done a pre-fight interview with Rob, he's won, and every time I haven't done a pre-fight interview with Rob, he hasn't won. So if we're keeping up this regular dialogue, I can only presume it's good for your career, the top of the bantamweight tree.
Guys are in trouble, man. If I'm doing multiple shows with you, my luck is just shooting up every week.
You'll end up like Chimaev in that COVID run where he was fighting just week after week because we're chatting week after week.
Definitely, man. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be pretty cool. Trying to give my best thoughts and opinions on these fights and see how they play out. Yeah, so it's been what's my record so far since we started?
Since we've started, so you went for Usman last week and I went for Leon, so that's 1-0 to me. Then you
Yeah,
went for Marab and I went for Yan, and that's
yeah,
1-1 And then we both went with John, so it's technically 2-2. So it all comes down to Cheeto and Sandhagen this week. I went Cheeto and you went Corey.
yeah, man. This is gonna be interesting, man. Big fight. Obviously, bantamweight division. So it's I got a lot of interest in this fight, and it's gonna be a fun fight, man.
100%. Well, we're here today to break down UFC 287, which obviously is a great time for us to start this project because it compares with your return to the cage against Adrian Yanez. But let's start a little bit at the top of the top of the tree. Main event, middleweight championship on the line, the fourth installment of the rivalry between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. Rob, just give me a little bit of your thoughts on this matchup and what your initial takeaways are.
Man, it's just got to be a hard fight to kind of like mentally get prepared for if you're Izzy. He's beating you. You guys been doing this. You know that technically you're the better fighter, but he has just so much power at any time that fight could just change. And like you can be on point for the whole 25 minutes, and then one little accident or slip up or mistake or whatever to change this whole outcome of that fight. So that's something that's in the back of your head. It happened before, so it's reality. It's not like you just imagine it. It actually happened before. So it's just tough. And then you got man, and then you got also got to think that it's another main event, another camp with the same name. Like, what changes? What are you gonna do? Who do you bring in? What happens? Like, I'm interested in finding out what he does. He is a true champion. I think it could be just like maybe doing a little less, maybe even wrestling a little bit more. Definitely not staying on the back on the cage with your back,
Yeah.
just kind of bobbing and weaving. I don't think that's safe for anybody, especially with a guy with power that Pierre has. So yeah, it's just gonna be interesting. I'm excited for the fight. I can't wait to watch it. I'll be there live as well, so that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be huge, and this is another banger. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking about it before we jumped on. So, Izzy's in all combat disciplines, boxing, kickboxing, and MMA, has single-digit losses. He has 9 losses across his career in the pro ranks, and
Okay,
3 of them are to Pereira. And not only that, Pereira is the only man to stop Adesanya, and he's done it twice. Now, I don't like using the term boogeyman in combat sport, but when you're talking you've had 100 fights and a third of your losses are to one man, that's a real strange space that Adesanya finds himself in.
yeah, 100%. It's like you said, it's a small percentage of guys that can actually do that, and it's the same guy that's doing it.
Mm.
So that's in the back of your mind. You gotta, this is going to come down to mentality. It's going to come down to how he he gets over that and how he deals with that pre-fight, before the fight, and obviously I'm sorry, during the fight, and then
Mm.
and yeah, this is going to be a hard, big mountain for him to climb. But he's so skilled that I think if he mentally prepares and gets it right and really, picks and chooses when to fight, wrestles a little bit more. Um, sometimes, obviously definitely not backing up too much, but getting around him a little bit more. I think he can pull it off. And if he has the skills, it's going to come down to the mentality.
It's so interesting as well because, as you say, I'm almost getting Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder vibes. I see some similarities in terms of when Fury fought Wilder the second time, he crowded him. He got inside punching range and kept him in dirty boxing range. And I wonder, in certain instances, has Adesanya got to close the distance, get into that clinch range, and actually keep negate Pereira's power by keeping him so close that he can't land the big shot?
Yeah, yeah, obviously the big shots, they hurt more on the outside. If you can get closer, you can crowd some of that power, get in there, dirty box, clinch, even push him against the cage to kind of slow that down. That's going to buy him more time. And obviously he's not getting hit he's keeping his hands busy. So that could be a huge part about it. Obviously the footwork is going to be there, the angles are going to be there, the head movement needs to be there. And if I think, like you said, if you can get a little closer, crowd that power, keep his hands busy, sneak in a couple uppercuts, a couple knees, it could just slowly add points up, run that clock, and it's just again, if his hands are busy, you're not getting hit.
It's so interesting as well because in the second and the third fight, Izzy not only was winning the fight, but he also rocked Pereira in both fights big. Especially in the first fight in MMA. If that's 10 seconds longer in the first round, that's a different fight. So you've got to think from
Heartbreak.
Izzy's perspective, he's had so much success that does he stick with what he's originally done and lean into that, or does he do something completely different?
That's the hard part. It's heartbreaking because he's so close. It was
Mm.
so close of actually beating him. He knows that, and then it doesn't happen. So like you said, do we do the same exact thing and just like actually finish him this time, or do we switch it up? And it's kind of hard. And then obviously you got to just go out there and just do your own thing and have fun and make it happen. But there's a lot to think about before this fight. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot of game planning. There's a lot of like man, like again, mentality. It's gonna come down to the
Mm.
mentality. This is like you said, this is the boogeyman, so to say, coming and you've been there before, you felt it, and you almost beat the boogeyman, and you got to come back and you got to figure
Mm.
it out again. This is gonna be a tough one, but that's what champs that's what champs are made of, and I'm excited to see how Izzy comes out and plays this one, and handles this fight.
I was looking at your record before we jumped on, and to my knowledge, there hasn't really been any major rematch in your career. You don't really seem to have had many. Don't think you've had an actual career rematch. So obviously,
No.
you've got an interesting perspective going in from Adesanya's perspective. I'm wondering
Yeah.
if you were facing someone who previously beat you, say Cheeto or Aldo, and going into that rematch space, where do you think your headspace would be at going into that fight?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always been curious about that. I actually I almost had a rematch with Lineker. And then it got canceled. He didn't make weight. I guess supposedly not he didn't get make weight. He slipped and fell during the cut. He got
Oh,
I
right,
guess
okay.
something happened, like a cut over his eye, and the fight got canceled. It was supposed to happen in South Carolina. So in that fight, it was more of like, all right, cool. I finally get to get this back. For that fight, it was more about like obviously rewatching what I didn't do, what I did right, and then just understanding that this is a new fight. I'm a new fighter.
Mm.
Um, I definitely changed a lot from the first time I fought to him. It was like a whole different change as far as the camp. So that was like obvious. But yeah, like you prepare. Obviously, you switch it up. You try to get sharpen everything that you're lacking, and then obviously stick to what you're good at, and just keep sharpening that as always. Conditioning, you can control that. Mentality and prep, and talking to who you need to talk to, reading whatever you need to read, and get into that mindset before the fight. So when the fight comes, you're kind of in routine of getting to the right spot, right?
Yeah.
The mental box. So you can control that. Tons of breathing exercises, because I really do believe if you're out there controlling your breathing and controlling what you're seeing, it becomes a lot easier to make things happen or even see things coming your way.
Mm.
And then, yeah, again, just control what you can and go out there and fight the best fight you can fight. But it is like it is, you do. you do question yourself if, hey, can I do this? I didn't do it before, right? I usually do this when I fight a guy, and I didn't even come close to doing that the last time, or whatever it may be. You can't kind of psych yourself out of thinking that this might be too hard or whatever.
Yeah.
But man, I don't believe he's going to do that. I definitely don't feel like I would ever do that.
No.
But that's a question you got to kind of like sit down and look yourself in the mirror and actually really ask yourself and try to like put together the best game plan and the best saying effort before for the fight to then go out there and perform.
Yeah, because it's a different dynamic. Because when you're facing someone for the first time, there's that ego in you, like you're preparing for Yanez. There's an ego in you right now saying this kid can't touch me.
Yeah,
And it's only after the fight, when win, lose or draw, you can assess and see what he actually could and couldn't do.
yeah, yeah,
But in that rematch perspective, in the case of Lineker, you spent 15 minutes in the cage with him. You know what he can do. You know
yeah.
how them shots feel. So mentally, you can obviously I can't talk from experience, but you're completely right. You can imagine the mental difficulties or capacity that might take to
Yeah.
navigate that situation for Adesanya.
It's always just the boring old answer of like it's most of it's mental, but it really is because you can really spook yourself. I see guys do it all the time. Like they say they want to fight, and then when they actually get a fight, you'll start noticing that their body language changes. Their sparring sessions are not the same. They start getting more tired. They're more cranky. Like a lot more little things bother them more a lot more than usual. Usually they're let's say like they're usually beating up this purple belt, but now this purple belt is kind of like destroying them because they're in their head and they're thinking like, man, this, that, the fight cutting out now, the conditioning's going up. You know what I'm saying? The anxiety of actually getting hit goes up
Mm-hmm.
every single time you get kicked, every single time you don't slip a punch or whatever. So everything is constantly rising. And if you're not calm, cool, and like understanding that some days you're gonna do good, some days you're gonna get bad, and you get yourself overwhelmed to all these things that come at you. Your social media is probably going up. You're
Yeah.
doing a lot of interviews. You have everybody telling you what you're good at, what you're bad at. There's a million people saying chiming in on what you
Mm-hmm.
need to do and all that. And if you don't know how to handle that, it takes a toll. And like yeah, man. So like if you can kind of block that out, understand what you can control, and then prep, and just get ready for a fight and leave all the other stuff out of it. You only give your chance yourself a better chance.
Prediction time. Who do you think gets it done, Rob, and how?
Oh man, with all that said, man, I think the champ does it again, man. I really do. I think he does it again. I think he wrestles more. I think he mixes it up a little bit more. I think he wants to not only he knows he can finish him, I think he wants to make it even more saying obvious that he can beat
Mm.
him at any time. Um, Obviously, like from what I've seen on his social media, he's boxing a lot. He's been boxing a lot. He's a crazy UFC fighter that's boxing in the boxing gym with no headgear, no
Mm.
shoes, and just slugging, man. He's one of those guys, and he's in the boxing gym getting some good work. It seems like hopefully, I would love to see him wrestle a lot more. He can kind of mix it up. I would love to see him take him down and get on top and do all that. Not saying he will, but that'd be awesome to see him kind of evolve into more of a mixed martial artist. Um, I believe that obviously, like you said, Izzy has to kind of get close to kind of slow that down. So hopefully, he can get a takedown and land his elbows and knees and
Mm.
all that and get busy there. Obviously, if Izzy's backing up, he's hard to catch up to. So hopefully, the champ doesn't come out there swinging too big and gets caught with anything. But that's another way Izzy can win. So this fight's still dangerous, still interesting, but I think I'm sticking with the champ.
No, I agree. I think ultimately, when someone's 3-0, if we thought about another sport, like say you're into golf, for example, Rob. I know you're into golf. If Rory McIlroy wins the next three major tournaments, then when the fourth one comes around, you're probably going to pick Rory McIlroy just on form. It's logical to pick Pereira,
Yeah,
and I can understand people still having faith in Adesanya because of the success that he's had. But ultimately, I don't think I can go against someone who's 3-0 in a three-set rivalry. It just logically doesn't make sense.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man. Like it's hard. It's like it's something just about like the champ and Izzy. Like it's hard to pick against him, man. And I think he's only getting better. I'm saying, hopefully I'm wrong. I'm not sure, but it looks like he's only getting better. And getting more creative. I think once he has more fun with the kind of putting it all together, it's going to be dangerous for that division.
No, it is, and I think ultimately he will move up to 205. So the matchups with like the likes of Jamal Hill, Prohaska, and all of those, especially the legacy fight of obviously Jamal taking the belt out
He's
of
love.
Glover's reach and all of that. I think he will go up to 205 in the not too distant future.
He's definitely big enough, man. It looks like he's bigger. He looks like he's bigger than Jamal now. Like so, it's like it's interesting how that fight plays out.
100%. From one Brazilian to another, let's move to the co-main event. Number 5 ranked welterweight Gilbert Burns takes on, I believe, number 11 ranked Jorge Masvidal. Rob, I'm going to go first on this one, and I'm going to give you my bold prediction.
Yo,
I think Gilbert Burns runs over Jorge Masvidal. I don't predict a stoppage, but I predict 30, at least 30-27. I think
runs
when
over.
I do. I think when you think about the Kamaru Usman fights and the Colby Covington fight and how they were able to control Masvidal on the ground, obviously the wrestling pedigree isn't there for Burns, but I think he'll have enough to take him down and control him for 3 rounds. Maybe threaten with submissions, but I think Masvidal's crafty enough to just stay out of trouble.
I like it. No, I see that. You know, obviously Gilbert has a lot more experience in jiu-jitsu as well. He's just as good as a wrestler as like, I guess a Kobe or even Usman. Like I was probably not on paper, but he's
Mm,
just as good as those
yeah,
guys as well. But then you got to give him, the jiu-jitsu edge, and he's slick. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He was winning a lot of competition before he even got into UFC. He was even doing a bunch of competition while fighting. So like,
mm.
it's not like he's forgot how to do his jiu-jitsu, and it seems like he's real passionate about it. His last fight was he submitted he won by
Somebody said,
submission.
yeah, Magni, yeah,
Like he seems like one of those guys that's not going to forget where he's from, and start
yeah.
looking for submissions as well. Um, I can see how like Masvidal kind of like you get 2 or 3 takedowns. He's not as quick to pop up, and he doesn't have that much pop in his
Mm.
shots as well. Once he kind of does get back up to his feet, so that's only going to help Gilbert if he does get those takedowns. Um, I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I'm not gonna say he's gonna run through him. I want to see Jorge Masvidal come out there and saying do his thing in Miami, hometown. Um, but this is sort of like a hometown fight for Gilbert as well. He's out there
Yeah.
in Miami. Yeah, he's in Miami, right? So he's out there. He's living
He's
out there.
Florida.
So
He's Florida because he's Henry Hoof's gym, isn't he?
yeah, yeah. So he's gonna be comfortable. He's not gonna have to travel as well. So it's sort of kind of obviously Masvidal is really his hometown, but with that being said, I can see the decision going down. I would like to see the submission. I would like to see him kind of like take the back, take the neck, and submit Jorge and kind of like solidify it. But that's hard. I don't think Jorge has been submitted for a while. I think the last time he's been submitted was maybe that triangle from like the up
Yeah.
from like remember back in the day when I submitted
Flying
by that
triangle.
triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was awkward little triangle. I think
This is
that's the
what I
last.
wanted to say is Jorge's really good at not like obviously when we think about Jorge recently we think of the Usman knockout because that's just such a viral moment. But I can't think of many examples other than that where you've seen Jorge Masvidal in real trouble. Like
No,
Damian Maia had us back in the first round of their fight, and obviously Colby and Kamaru could control him on the ground, but you don't ever really see him, in back and forth wars. You don't ever really see him being dropped or really hurt. He's really good at watching his P's and Q's and keeping defensively sound.
yeah. Yeah, so like he like say he's sharp defensively, he's sharp. You don't just take him down and instantly submit him. There's no way. But if Gilbert can do that, man, like that'll be interesting. So I think if he can kind of like not just go in there and try to just look for the win, but try to push for that finish, push for that submission, push can't play his jiu-jitsu card. I think it'll be great for obviously his career, the highlight, and obviously fun for the fans as well.
I do also think as well after Saturday night's result, I think a lot of these top 5, top 10 welterweights will be reinvigorated by having a new champion. Like
Yeah,
Gilbert, we're probably looking at going, if Usman wins, I'm not getting a second crack at Usman anytime soon because I got stopped in our first fight. Whereas if it's Edwards, it's a fresh matchup. I can talk a little bit of shit on the mic. Obviously, the Masvidal fight is always there if he can
yeah.
get it done. But what I'm trying to say is all of these top 5, top 8 welterweights, they've now got a new guy to look towards, and I think that will spare Burns on in this fight.
100%, 100%. There's like there's new. like energy out there, and it's gonna definitely get everybody hyped and trying to make them push a lot harder.
100%. Featured fight. I think we can skip over this one. It's not the best in the world. Some guy called Fob Ront. Don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Ron, I might use that one. I might come out with that one. Man, that's my guy right there.
No, but in all seriousness, obviously you're taking on number 13 ranked Adrian Yanez. Obviously we've had an interview a couple of weeks ago, and I know you've done a lot of media, so the floor is yours if there's anything you want to say on your fight. Obviously we won't be breaking your fight down.
Just tune in, man. Just tune in. It's gonna be obviously you don't have to tune in for me. The card's already insane, but I feel like I'm gonna add a nice little cherry on top of that of this card. Again, this guy's tough. You know what he brings. You know what I bring. You put that into the octagon. It's only gonna be fireworks. I'm gonna bring it. I don't know how else to fight. So it's kind of like I'm only gonna bring that heat. I'm gonna push. I'm gonna give it all out there, and I know he's gonna bring that same type of energy. It's in Miami, pay-per-view. This is the first time for me fighting in front of a crowd since I believe 2019, since the Ricky Simone fights in DC. So I can't wait to feel that energy, and I can't wait to just get away and get to that nice weather, man. It's kind of cold out here right now, so I'm all smiles. I'm excited. I feel amazing right now, and yeah, just tune in April 8th. It's going down.
We didn't mention this last time we spoke in our interview a couple of weeks ago, but obviously you've turned into main event form this last couple of years. Obviously getting those 5 rounders in at the Apex, but
Yeah.
in a way, are you more excited for a 3 rounder in front of the fans rather than a five round main event at the Apex?
Yes and no. I think I I it all depends on how that first round goes. It all depends on how that first round goes. It's kind of like I don't in a weird way they all kind of feel the same once you kind of get going. You don't. It definitely it's obviously it's longer and it's harder, but like I felt like the camp felt the same. Like the 3 round fights and the 5 round fights felt the same. Um, while you're in it and you're kind of winning, even the Cody fight, like it feels like it feels no different. Like I'm just having more fun. I get more time to experience it. Obviously, I don't ever want to keep going these 5 round fights, and I want to finish them, but I can't tell the difference. Again, if that first round, I lose that first round, I'm gonna want those extra rounds. So like, it all depends. But no, definitely excited for that. I know the cardio is not going to be an issue, so it's going to be more of like just staying on point, doing what I want to do, and if I don't finish in the first 2 rounds, making sure I win those first 2 rounds for sure.
100%. Well, we'll talk about another bantamweight very quickly because opening up the pay-per-view main card is, I believe, now 18-year-old Raul Rosas Jr. I think the youngest fighter on the UFC roster. He's taken on
Yeah.
Christian Rodriguez, who I believe is a anti-Showtime Pettis guy. What have you made of Raul Rosas Jr. and the fact that a kid as young as him is fighting in the UFC?
This is pretty cool, man. Like this is what we all kind of knew, seeing. Like we all know this kid that was in the gym at 10, 8 years old. They were like, wow, wait till this kid gets older, he's gonna kill it. And he's finally older, and he's doing his thing. He's a pretty big size, 35 it looks like. I'm hearing nothing but great stories out of the gym about how good he is,
Mm,
how sharp he is on the ground, and if they're giving him that spot, Dana White and everybody else must see something as well. So they're giving him that shot. So we'll see. Christian Rodriguez, I've actually watched him fight live at CFFC in Philadelphia.
all right,
I've
okay.
Yeah, so Tom Pag was fighting, and he was out there, and I remember watching him, like even warming up. I'm like, this kid is sharp, man. And then obviously he was out there with all the Duke Rufus guys, so you're like, okay, you see why he's so sharp. And obviously he's in the UFC for a reason. Been around a lot of good guys, as far as the Pettis brothers, and all those guys, Duke and his
Yeah.
whole staff. So he's been around high level guys. He gets another, and this is another opportunity for him to kind of shine as well, kind of steal the show. And this is going to be interesting. I can't honestly pick this fight because I feel like I need to do more research on these guys. But I think I'm gonna go with Christian Rodriguez on this one. I'm gonna go with the so-called underdog on this one.
I must admit, though, I do have slight concerns that a kid of 18 will be taking, like real punishment. Like, like we'll be in the UFC and we'll be taking hard shots against people trying to KO him. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest, but ultimately, if he has the skills to compete, then who am I to judge? I think if he can maintain his level, and we don't see another, say, Sage Northcutt situation where he's maybe in there too early, then I'm happy to see it. And obviously, as you say, You see him constantly posting pictures on with people on the mat. I saw him with Patchy Mix a couple of days ago. I've seen him with Marab. So he's with top class guys, and obviously that iron sharpens iron, as we always talk about, is going to do big things for him.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Like, I can understand. Like, I think if he was a little younger, like 15, 16, probably that'd make more sense. 18, with real like skill. So I don't have to feel so bad if he actually goes out there and gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Mm.
he's legit, man. He's a big size kid. He's he's been in the room with a lot of guys, and so the UFC is not dumb. They're not gonna just put out something that listen, that kid like that's gonna get
Mm.
destroyed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so obviously that'd be bad for them. But uh, but he's exciting, man. There's something about him, saying, like, I think Dana White's pretty good at, saying, seeing these things. And I think that
Mm.
UFC staff and the whole staff understand how to, like, pick and choose these type of guys, and he's exciting. They're giving him the opportunity. Hopefully he can take advantage of it. Um, I just, I think I'm going with the dog on this one. Like, I'm pretty sure he's an underdog now. Chris is the underdog.
I presume he'll be an underdog because of the hype
Yeah,
of Rosas, because sometimes it's not about skill, it's about
it's
the big
like,
name,
yeah,
about who people are betting on. I'm going to go with Rosas Jr. I'm going to play devil's advocate to you, Rob. You go with Rodriguez because you've seen him
I,
in the war room, and
I,
I'll go with Rosas.
I seen him getting into that spot. I seen him prepping, and I was watching him. I was with Tom. We both kind of like had an eye on him. I was like, this kid's smooth, and then I ran him into the a couple times with the PI. Real chill dude. So maybe I just like him too much. I don't know. Maybe I just like him too much. Like I like his mindset. I like his prep. His combinations putting together, his groundwork, everything was putting together. Yeah, it was clean work.
Well, rounding up the main card is a welterweight fight between Kevin Holland and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Two guys who've kind of been on the fringe of contendership. I think both have been ranked within the top 10, top 15 space. It's a very interesting fight in terms of where both of them are at. What are your thoughts on this one?
Man, I just think if it seems like Kevin loves to have fun, right? It just seems
Mm,
sometimes it doesn't seem like he take it as serious as maybe you would like him to take it. Um, but it's always fun. So it's kind of like do your thing, like whatever, like.
mm,
But I feel like if he maybe got it, in the fight, did a little less sometimes with the antics, like that, he would have a lot more success and really like really, what I'm saying, like be considered a real dangerous guy. Now it's kind of like you might get hit, you might take him down and just win the fight.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, I kind of get one of those feels with him. Definitely fun to watch. I'm excited every time he's on. Anything he does is interesting, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of that's the only thing I'm a little worried about in this fight. Yeah, this is another one. It's kind of hard to pick because it's kind of like you never know what Kevin Holland will come out with. But I think I'm rooting for Kevin on this one. I want to see him get out there and spark Ponzinibbio and just stay on point, and then use that length, use that agility, um, and not get into a clinch and just kind of put him away. You know, I, I'm banking on him to kind of like pull this off, man.
My only thing with Ponzinibbio is he came out shot out of a cannon at the start of his career. Remember, he had the first round knockout over Gunnar Nelson in Glasgow with the eye poke, if you remember, where he eye poked him and immediately knocked him out 10 seconds later. But then he had
Yeah,
the fight against Neil Magny in Buenos Aires in Argentina, and he brutalized Neil Magny in terms of the leg kicks, in terms of the box, and stopped him in the fourth round. But then he took 2 years out and came back against De Chirico, and De Chirico knocked him out with a head kick. And he's never really been the same since that layoff, and that's my only kind of consideration with this fight is Kevin Holland's coming off a loss against Wonderboy, but that was a very competitive fight. I know he was kind of on the back end of it from the third round onwards, but first, second round they were very competitive rounds. And I don't know if I've seen that same competitiveness out of Ponzinibbio recently, and that's my worry. But I do know what you're saying. There is something about Kevin Holland where I think I wish I could get in his ear and say, Kevin, can you just be more serious for a moment? Can you just take this seriously because he's so calm and so relaxed? And obviously that does work in his favour. Otherwise, he wouldn't be where he is. So I'm probably
yeah.
going to go with Holland, but for me, there's just something missing in terms of getting to the top of the division.
I feel the same, man. I feel the same. Like you said, like it's just like, and I think like talent-wise, you got to go Kevin Holland. Quickness and speed and effortlessness. I feel like he's just doing things effortlessly, and it's fun to watch. So it's just that little piece that's missing. That like how serious does he take come fight night or even training camp, and